In this short video, I'll just give a quick demo of how you can get started with Patchwork. So Patchwork is an open source framework to build agentic AI workflows for development chores. There are two key components in a patchwork. We have some set of steps, which are these reusable atomic actions that define various operations. And we have workflows we call patch flows, which are LLM assisted automations that allow you to do things like PR reviews, fixing vulnerabilities, debugging, resolving issues, and so on. One of the easiest ways to get started with Patchwork is just to do a pip install Patchwork CLI, and that would give you the Patchwork CLI on your machine. Otherwise, you can also clone our repository, and we use Poetry for managing dependencies. So you can just do a Poetry shell and Poetry install to get started, right? Here on my terminal, I have already cloned and done a Poetry install. So you'll see that I have Patchwork here. And I'm just gonna go to an example Python repository, which is right here. So this repository is something which I just forked from Veracode's example Python. It has just one file called main.py. And in this file, there is one command injection vulnerability, right? Now we'll try and see if we can use the autofix patch flow to fix this vulnerability, right? So we can just do a patchwork and then name of the patch flow and just get started. So you'll notice one thing that as the patch flow executes, it will print out the steps which are taking place. So the first step in the autofix patch flow is to use semgrep to scan for vulnerabilities. And then we extract the code and then we try to fix it. So you'll notice that we actually missed something. So you get an error. So what it says that the model API key is not set. So you can actually use any of LLM. So you can obviously use the OpenAI based LLMs like GPT 3.5 or GPT 4. You can also use Google's LLM by passing the Google API key, or you can also use a locally hosted LLM. Now, if you don't want to set up or enter your API key just to get started, you can actually go to our app, which is at app.patchcodes.sign in and get a free patched API key. So you can just sign in with your GitHub account. And once you log in, you will see the integrations tab where you can generate a patched API key. Now you can just pass that key in and it'll just work similar to passing an OpenAI key, right? So there are several default options and configurations, and all of them can be set up using the arguments on the command line. But in order to make this a lot easier, we actually provide a template repository, which is the patchwork-configs repository, which you can actually clone or directly use as a template. The repository has all the default configurations and prompts for the various patch flows that we currently have. For example, these are the options that you can actually set in the YAML. So you'll notice that on my machine, I already have all of this set up. So one for each model provider. So what I'll do is I'll just run patchwork autofix and then pass the path to this configurations folder, and all the configurations will then be picked up from this particular folder, right? So you can just clone the config repository in any place you want, and then you can just pass to the path to the patch flow configs. And then as long as the repository is set up properly, you'll be able to pick up the necessary configuration. So you'll notice again, it started with first with the scanning, then it extracted the vulnerable parts of the code. And then now it's actually doing a call to the LLM to generate the fixes. So just give it a second. You'll notice that the response came, it modified the code, and then it created a new branch in your repository and created the pull request. Now we can take a quick look at the pull request that was created. You'll see that there is some description which talks about what files were changed, what are the changes that were made into the file. And if you click in here to go to the parts of code that changed, you'll notice that it has actually addressed the command injection vulnerability. Right. The prompts for the LLM are also something that you can easily customize in a patch flow by using prompt templates. So prompt templates are just JSON files which have the default prompts and some prompt variables. So for example, for this particular patch flow, you can see the exact prompt that is sent here, and then you can modify it to your needs. Right. And finally, if you want, you can also create your own patch flow using the existing steps that are there, right? So you'll have to write a little bit of Python. You have to implement two methods, and you can use existing steps or you can write your own steps and define an init and a run method. And then you can run your patch flow in the same way as the patch flows that we have implemented. We make the job of doing this a lot easier by providing two chat assistants. So we have a Patchwork assistant GPT if you have a Chat GPT Pro subscription. Otherwise, you can use our free Hugging Chat Patchwork assistant. The assistant will actually guide you through the process of creating a new patch flow and generate code, which you can use as a basis for writing new patch flows as well. So you'll see that it will guide you through the steps in a wizard-like manner and then help you create the patch flow. So that's all I have today. Do remember to start a repo and give it a try. Thank you.